This is the Apparelist podcast, designed to bring you real-life conversation about high-level topics relevant to the decorated apparel community. Welcome to the July episode of the Apparelist podcast, July 2026. I can't believe it. We are just cranking through this year. It's been very, very chaotic, but very, very positive. A lot of fun things happening in the decorated apparel community. This month, I am excited to bring back some of my favorite people in the industry, but just a very quick reminder to all of you listeners out there. You can find the Apparelist podcast anywhere you listen. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, directly through the Apparelist site, or wherever you choose to listen. Without further ado, I do want to bring in our guests this month. We have some of the OGs of DTG back for another fabulous discussion. If you have not been following along with the Apparelist podcast, I highly recommend you go back to some of our previous episodes. The OGs have been here several times and they've weighed in on a lot of different topics. Today we are talking about AI. I know that can be really broad and everybody's talking about it, but I always like to get these guys' opinion on just about any topic in the industry because it's always interesting to hear what each of them has to say. But welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on for another episode.
Thanks, Cassie.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, let's just kick things off. Anthony, maybe we'll start with you just because you happen to be the person who is up on my screen right now, your video. Let's just start with this. The DTG industry has lived through a lot of, quote unquote, next big things. There have been a lot of cool things happening. Is AI the next big thing for DTG?
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of automation as far as order process and artwork cleanup and, delivery of the artwork to, your ordering system. And I think people are going to start developing a lot of their own with it instead of having to maybe utilize some type of service. So I think that that's what's probably coming up next. And there are a lot of people that I know that are developing their own. So I think that's going to be pretty hot here pretty soon.
Yeah. Thoughts from the rest of the group? Eric, you want to weigh in?
Sure, I completely agree. I think art management is probably going to be the easiest thing that most people are going to be bringing in, validating, DPI and resolutions and file types and all of those things that typically would go into a body. And now we can remove that step in the production process. I think that will help streamline a lot of things. I think that people also take AI for granted in the aspect of you just type something into ChatGPT and it poof creates it. And that's not the case. So there's a lot of dirty stuff out there as well. It's a lot involved. I've built quite a bit of process tools with AI, and I've learned a lot. It's not just making an email. There's a lot more to it, but yeah, I definitely agree with Anthony.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's I'd agree with those guys too. And as Eric said with like ChatGPT, one thing to be careful for with that is like it's taking information from the internet. So if there's wrong information that's on the internet, it's going to bring in wrong information. So I know there's some other systems a little bit better, like Grok, like Super Grok and stuff, and it like challenges itself. But creating, I do also see a lot of companies creating, using the AI to create the processing systems to figure out like DPI, figure out like how much ink to lay down on shirts and things like that. So that's definitely a spot that it's going to be moving forward.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting point that you brought up about it can pull wrong information and there can be some questionable things out there. And maybe that's kind of where we take this conversation next. And Deanna, let's start with you. Everybody's like, oh, what can AI do? We can use it for this. We can use it for that. But I think Gerald brings up an important question of what shouldn't we be using AI for? What should we be wary of when we're, utilizing these tools?
I think the main concern with AI usage for like DTG or any, printing method is the copyright. Um, a lot of people will take a piece of artwork and say, I want this exact one, but I just want one word to be changed, but everything else remain the same. And, you don't know where the intellectual property came from the original graphic. And I mean, yes, it does get convoluted down the line, but where does the line draw to where someone can actually do a cease and desist order? It, and it could be a design that was AI'd of an AI. So, it's going to get very confusing, I believe, in the end. But I think that's one of the main things that, like we got to kind of look out for, or maybe like we may have to implement in our prompts not to do. Because, as you said, that it's pulling information all over from the internet, right? So sometimes we may have to tell it, don't use copyright images, don't use celebrity likeness, etc. In the actual prompt. There's a lot of things I believe that can be fixed in the prompts though, because it's still not smart. Most of the image creating AIs are not smart enough to even do transparent backgrounds to open it or to tell it. I mean, I know this because me and a colleague have been tinkering on how to use AI to do a kind of like a side business venture. And we have been encountering a lot of these problems where, we're trying to tell it, make it exactly 16 inches across, make it transparent background, not use fluorescent colors because not all printers can use extended gamuts. We're trying to make it very, very, specialized, but it's not quite there yet. And so we're, there's a lot of figuring out, but I think maybe within the next year or two, all this information that we're giving the AI to train itself, maybe it'll be smart enough. But yeah, so that's my thought on it.
I think one of the big issues with AI also that the average user doesn't understand. I mean, I've got billions and billions of token usage on the monthly basis. I use AI extensively for all kinds of projects. And you have to set guardrails. You've got to tell, I don't care if it's Copilot, Codex, Gemini, I don't care who it is. There's only a certain amount of context window that it can actually remember. It can only keep track of your conversation for so long. It will start drifting. And if you don't bring it back online to where it needs to be, it will go in a whole other direction. I've been building like ROI calculators with it to help people understand how they need to be bringing their sales into the business, how they can, I have one that compares DTG to DTF. What is the image? What size is the image? I'll plug in all these variables and it will break down to tell you which one as a print shop makes most sense. Should you be selling this by the gang sheet? Should you be selling this in a DTG run? What your cost should be? What your break even should be? All this stuff. And then if something breaks and I say, oh, wait a minute, I need you to change this to this, then it forgets that it wrote all that other code and will break the other code. It will change the layout, change the colors, and you have to reinforce it constantly and tell it to freeze things and store it in its memory. I will even use like Codex is very strong at writing scripts and code and Python, etc., but it is not good at doing HTML design. It's not good at doing the human side of things. So I will have Codex write me the code, drop it in prompt form. I'll tell Codex, write the code, create the package, write the prompt so I can put this into ChatGPT so that ChatGPT can interpret it properly. So I don't have to go back in and try to recreate the wheel here. I let the two systems, the two LLMs talk together and they understand what's going on. They know their weaknesses. Copilot for me is not even close to being able to keep up with what I do. I constantly hit my threshold in Copilot at work all the time, even in just like Excel applications. I'm trying to get it to do certain table things. And it's very complex tasks. But now that it's available, I'm asking it to do it. And I'm finding the breaking points. And I have spent, unfortunately, hours and hours of having to go back because I didn't tell it the first time around, hey, these are the parameters, these are the guardrails, stay with it. And then every hour reinforce that, hey, make sure when you do this, stay in the same guardrails of this conversation. Go back and review this chat. go back and make sure otherwise it will absolutely 100%, even without it's trying to do what you're asking it to, it forgets what you were doing 20 minutes ago. And that's something that people struggle with understanding where it's going to break when you're trying to build these things out.
I feel like this maybe goes back a little bit to what Anthony was saying, is that's probably why we see a lot of like the piecemeal, like people using this for this and this for this and building their own and having to do all this stuff, because all of you guys make great points. Like not one thing is solving all the issues, right? Like that's pretty normal. There is no silver bullet in this industry. There probably never will be a silver bullet for any challenge we face, right? And that's so that makes me think back to what he was saying earlier. I'm curious, have any of you guys kind of been keeping up on the legislation side of this? Because we're starting to see the first pieces of legislation get passed. And this makes me think of what you were saying, Deanna, about the like copyrighted images and things like that. Have any of you guys kind of been keeping up with any of that at all?
No, not at all.
Just here and there, impersonations and stuff like that. And that can all get into a really crazy and scary place. Products or pictures can be made mimicking other people's intellectual property or persons, and that can be really scary, because like, what if somebody makes something that is a false recording of somebody and it's been taken seriously? So it can get into a really scary territory. Going back to the printing process, I've seen some things that AI has made for me that have been questionable on like example, like the other day I had an ad made, and it had a t-shirt next to a heat press, and I saw some type of like logo, and it wasn't like something that was your everyday brand. It was just a couple text words, and I said, you know what, that probably is not the best thing to put on a shirt, so I had to change it.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I mean, there are some problems, and you won't know about these problems unless you're utilizing AI and you're practicing and using it. Like, something extensive like what Eric's doing is pretty advanced. And you won't know these problems unless you're utilizing it. But yeah, it gets in a really pretty scary territory, and you have to have that knowledge to know where it draws the line, because you might be liable for all those damages. So it gets pretty scary.
And talking about this, a thought just came to my mind where, like, when we all create from these AIs for artwork purposes, it all comes back as like a PNG. Maybe there's some out there that aren't, and if I'm wrong with this, you guys can let me know. But I mainly use like ChatGPT for artwork, and I use Grok for like information and technology. But like, wouldn't it be great one day when the AI creates the artwork and you can save it as like an EPS or an AI file so that you can actually open it up and then make edible changes to the artwork? Because I think that's a challenge now, where I'll create an artwork and I'll say like, oh, I love everything, but change this one thing. And then it changes like 20% of my artwork. And I'm like, no. And, sometimes I do simple art, or my customer gives me simple art, and then we'll just like retrace it and vectorize it, and I can make my changes. But when it's something like super complex and I don't want to have to like retrace it, I'm like, just change this one thing. So I'm thinking like, if they get to a point where it could be saved as something that's like a vector file, that'll make it much more easy then to make changes that people want, to hopefully stop with the whole name and likeness and stealing people's graphics. Because I really haven't even thought about that, of like how many people's, custom shirts or, small clothing brand, somebody could just grab their mock-up, throw it into the system and say, hey, take away the shirt, take away everything, just recreate the artwork at high definition with a transparent background. And now you take that graphic and load it up and you print a shirt for 20, where maybe that customer is selling it for, $50 or something.
Right.
So
I think we could do a whole
yeah.
episode on the artwork aspect, because there's some tricks on that part too, Gerald, like with what you were experiencing with wanting to make a change instead of, and it regenerating the entire image and making its own changes and stuff. There's prompts to be able to circumvent that,
Mm,
to keep that in check, but you have to do it. It takes time. You have to, so here's part of the thing about AI that I think a lot of people also forget about is you have to train AI. You have to teach it what you want it to do and the expectations back. And you can go through, I've actually built a training system with AI to train it on what I want. So I uploaded, like if I was trying to do stuff with Millcraft, I upload every piece of about us type documentation, our website, everything. I have it parse everything, build an entire knowledge base about what our company is, where we operate out of, who our competitors are, everything you can find in the D&B about us, everything possible about the company. So that when I am starting to build stuff within that conversation model, it is referencing data that I have already given it. So it has the understanding of what our colors are, where we're based out of, who the owner, it understands more, so that I'm not having to rebuild all that. But you have to teach it. It only knows what it can find online and or what you've already told it. And so if the more you teach it and the more data you can drive to it, and even have it write its own prompts. I will have AI challenge me back with, did you understand? Yes, I did. Okay, interview me. Ask me questions to help you build the proper prompt the way that so it will stay. And that works a lot better than trying to think for the AI. Let AI tell you what it wants. And then you just give back the answers and it will build the prompt for you in a much more structured way. When it comes to the artwork, Gerald, one of the biggest things that we have found, and we use Midjourney for a lot of our artwork, but I have used ChatGPT also, is build it in layers, just like you're building it in layers in Illustrator or Photoshop. You build your background design, and then now with the background design done, you save that off. Now I want to build the logo graphic. Okay, now I want to apply this texture to said logo graphic. Then I want to apply drop shadow to you go through it methodically, step by step, so that you can then create the layers within Illustrator or whatnot the way you need to. And then you can also bring it in and use Firefly, which is Adobe's AI engine. It's not very, it's got a long ways to go,
yeah.
but it can help. It's not quite as good as some of the other stuff out there, but you can ask for it to save things in TIFF files, SVG files. Sometimes you got to trick it to make it do it. And sometimes it doesn't do it well at all. Like PDFs, you try to get it to export into a PDF and it looks like it's just text file. What was this? You just created a text file and saved it as a PDF, and I wanted you to create letterhead or something. But the more data you can provide to the engine, the better your outcome will be. And you'll see it start to compound as you feed it more and more and more. And I will build projects out. So this project is solely focused on the ROI calculator I'm building. So everything in that folder, it can continually just go back and re-reference. And I tell it to every so often. I even have an agent that I built to force it to every so often. The agent gets involved in my chat conversation and says, go back to the rules we set at the beginning of this stage. And it resets itself and it goes back. And now I review what you just posted. Does it meet the guidelines? And I have the agent do all this for me. And because it's running 24 hours a day for me. I have agents running 24 hours a day, building out our ERP systems and finance systems and all these other things that we're building for customer stuff, just to see what it can do. But sorry, I know I went into a rabbit hole there and got into the weeds. But I think we could have a whole another pod on just AI art.
Very good.
Printing United Expo is where the entire printing industry unites under one roof. Explore cutting-edge technology from over 800 exhibitors, see live product demonstrations, and discover solutions that can transform your business. With exclusive education sessions, expert insights, and endless networking opportunities, this is the must-attend event for anyone in print. No matter your role, Printing United Expo delivers the innovation, connections, and knowledge to help you stay ahead. Join us this September 23rd to the 25th in Las Vegas. Learn more at printingunited.com and experience the future of print today.
Honestly, hearing you guys all speak about how much you guys use AI makes me feel a bit better. I don't use it as much of like a large scale for like what I'm doing, but there have been times where, like a friend of mine wanted shirts that mimic the Coachella shirt for her kid's birthday. And she's like, can you redo this? And I'm sitting here like, is it really cheating if I use AI just to have to change the word to say your kid's name? Like, being proficient in graphic design, I kind of felt bad that I wasn't going to put much effort in it. But after I did it in like 2 seconds, I was like, nah, maybe I shouldn't feel bad. So I don't, hearing how much you guys are utilizing AI, it makes me feel better because I kind of felt like in a way that it was cheating. And it's kind of like, going against everything that I've learned throughout all these years. But then to Gerald's point too, like, I really would love if they could be so smart enough to save the layers. That would be amazing. So then we can, not only utilize AI, but also still utilize all of the education that we have with design work from before and then kind of like melt the two together.
It'll happen.
Yeah, I think it'll get there eventually.
It's inevitable. It has to.
Yep. It's just going to get better and better.
It's like DTG without pre-treat.
Right. Yeah, we want DTG to stay alive so I can sell pre-treat.
Well, let me ask you, because so you're right. I mean, there are so many different rabbit holes we could go down on this because there are so many different ways we can look at AI and it can be utilized in our industry. I'm going to ask something, and this is just purely journalistic curiosity to hear what you guys want to say. I'm not trying to start anything, not trying to start any fights or anything like that. But just curious to hear what y'all think. And maybe Gerald, we can start with you, but obviously everyone feel free to chime in. Do we feel like we're creating a generation or a set even of decorators who are, they know how to prompt AI. They know, like kind of what you're saying, Eric, like you learn how to prompt and interviews you and things like that. So do we feel like we're creating a set of decorators who know how to prompt AI, but don't actually understand printing fundamentals? Do we think like that's a real challenge?
I mean, that's definitely going to happen. Like, there's going to be people out there that are like, oh, I can print and I'm creating all this like artwork, but they don't know settings, But I think I think that happens with like every generation. Like, if you want to be really good at something, you know all the processes of it, right? Like, if you're a really good chef, you know everything from how the heat works, what pans are the best, what, oils, what butters, whatever it may be. So if you want to be like a really good printer and be well-rounded, you have to know how to do artwork. You have to know printing. You have to know the materials of the shirts, the cottons, the polys, the bamboos, and so forth. So, yeah, will there be a bunch of people that are like, yeah, I know how to create all this great artwork, but then it doesn't look as good, or they use the wrong process because all they use is DTF and they didn't know how to halftone it maybe, or make it feel better, and it should have been DTG'd or should have been screen print. Like, I just had a customer hit me up and he's like, oh, I want this DTG. And it was a 2-color graphic and he wanted 100 shirts. And I'm like, no, man, we would do screen printing. We can do an exact spot color. We can do puff ink on this one, design, and it'll look real cool with the other ink. And he's like, oh, like, not DTG? I'm like, no. He's like, oh, my buddy was telling me to do DTG. I was like, is that all he does? He's like, yeah. So I was like, yeah, he's not giving you the best option because he's only doing like, one thing. So, yeah. So long story short, yeah, I think it's going to make people be like, yeah, I know how to do all this like prompting, make all this cool artwork, but they've got to learn the process of what method of printing will make it look the best if you're doing like a fashion brand, if you're doing a big order. Now, if you're just doing one shirt, clearly, yeah, choose DTG or DTF. Hopefully you got both options. You know, if you pick a DTG machine, you can do both options. But yeah, that's what I think.
Anyone else care to weigh in?
I think the people who are going to struggle the most with that is the crafters, because a lot of them start with doing sublimated cups and tumblers, and everything has a background, right? And then they start to pivot to like Cricut or like heat transfer vinyl, right? And it's a little bit different, but they don't have to deal with backgrounds, but they don't get that understanding where they can't use the same exact design that they use for their sublimated cups for a shirt. They don't understand that the resolution is also not the same either. And so like they go, I don't, and I do see like this stopping point where after they create their design to a certain point with AI, they still have to look for outside help from a designer that can, increase the resolution, half tone it, or remove the background, etc. I think a lot of them have trouble also as well, because a lot of sublimated images have a lot of feathered background that would be better for DTG. And I think AI is better at creating those kind of graphics. You can't, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can tell AI to half tone a graphic for what background, right? It's not that quite smart yet. Yeah, it's iffy, right? So so they're finding that disconnect, and I think when they start buying like those little baby printers for like DTF and they're trying to print, they're finding out not only the printer side is difficult, but also their artwork is not lining up with what they need for the printer at hand.
Yeah, there definitely are some challenges. The person that deals with that is going to have to be well-rounded and know how a printer outputs, in my opinion, to be able to code properly. And also they'll have to know to code properly in order to understand how it's going to output on the printing side. So yeah, I do think that the person that is prompting, the people that they choose to prompt may be really good at doing the prompt, but they definitely need to be versatile. It really can't have one person doing the prompt that doesn't know what the printer's going to output. They kind of have to understand both, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think to add to that, I work with a lot of commercial print shops in the sense of like offset, digital copier style, like Xerox, Konica Minolta type print shops that are making booklets and whatever. And I'm not going to try to pat us all on our back here, but to be honest with you, apparel decorating is the most difficult printing process there is, textile included, but apparel in general is nowhere anybody can be close. I don't consider and I think it's the same thing happened like with offset shops going digital. The offset operator understood how to run that press. It was much more of a skilled trade. There were unions about it, et cetera, et cetera. Then you start moving in the digital world. Then it becomes much more of, you got to understand how to run the computer. We need to start understanding how to run RIPs. We got to understand how to run the print controllers. We got to understand more about what paper types are going where. Are we doing, saddle stitches? And are we doing perfect binding? All of those things. And so the process has changed, but the skill set still remains. You could have the best recipe, but if you don't know how to cook, it doesn't mean shit. So AI can provide us with the best recipe possible, but you've still got to understand how to get A to B to C to actually get a product that is deliverable. That skill set will not change from the aspect of an operator still is going to have to understand what are they looking at? What is happening in front of them? Are they seeing color drift? Are they seeing gray balance issues? Are they seeing apparel changes from a medium to a large? The dye-lot changed, and it's affecting my pre-treat. It's affecting things going on in front of me in real time. AI cannot resolve that at this time. Eventually, maybe it might with dynamic visuals, and it can see, oh, you're missing nozzle, whatever. But today, I don't see anytime soon where those skills are just going to be enhanced. But to Deanna's point too, as far as like graphic artists and whatnot, the graphic artists of yesterday are going to be pivoting now to understanding not just color theory and how to put things together, and that they're going to have to understand how AI interprets what they're trying to do and say, how to create those prompts to be able to get those half-toned images out for that, how to be able to understand how to get these. They have the vision. They just need the tools to be able to get it. A lot of us don't even have the vision. I can write my name, but I can't draw to save my life. I mean, I have horrible, but I'm a good designer because I understand color and balance and where things go and everything. I'm good at that, but I can't draw. I'm not a graphic artist by any means. I would rely on AI, but I need to be able to have people who are coming out of school, let's say, and new to the industry. They're going to be brought up with this at such an early age that it's going to be secondhand to them. And we'll actually be able to embrace that, I think, in our industry and move it forward at a faster pace. It's just like going from screen printing to digital. You had to know how to make separations, what mesh to choose, what angle for your blade, how much flash time. You had to know all of those things. And now they wanted to say, back when we first got into the digital world, guys, a decade ago plus, you guys aren't printers. You just push a button. And we know that's not the case. Yes, loading the t-shirt and pushing the start button is the easy part. Anybody can do that. I can teach my 10-year-old to do that. That does not make her a printer. And I don't think it ever will. And so I think that AI is just going to continue to advance us much more than hold us back and or hinder the talent and or the skill set that's required to make this happen. It is not easy. We make it look easy.
Oh, we make it look easy.
We do. And I mean, I'm not saying, but we do, Gerald.
No, I know. Yeah.
I mean, it's very simple for us to go up into a print shop. They can complain about their printer being junk, whatever. We walk up to it. They're printing on a piece of crap shirt that they got from Hobby Lobby. They don't have the right pre-trim. Their artwork is trash. We throw an image that we know on it, on a product that we know is going to print well and the settings we know are going to work well. And we produce a trade show print first time go. And they are looking there with their jaw dropped. How'd you do that? That's not going to change.
Yeah.
AI is not going to fix that.
Yeah. I got a question because you were bringing up like quality and it just popped in my mind. I was, what percentage of customers out there, like, do you think don't really care about quality? Because I was at somebody's shop recently because I sold them some equipment and I was helping them set up. And as I was walking around trying to figure out where we're going to put the stuff, they were printing on DTG machines. And I was like, oh, that's an AI graphic. And he's like, yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, well, it's very pixelated. It's very blurry, right? But it was like an order of like 100 for like a youth summer camp, right? And my heart is like hurting for like that summer camp because I'm like, all these kids are going to get a shirt that I would instantly throw in the trash if I was printing it. And I would be like, hey, we need to redraw this artwork. We need to retrace it, do something. It's just not good. But I'm seeing other shops just, hey, whatever we get, we're putting out. There's no QC. There's no, hey, customer, are you sure you want this? Because it's very blurry or it's very pixelated because it was only a 1-inch graphic that we're making 12 inches. And they're still getting the customers. Like I've lost customers because I'm like, look, I'm not going to print this because it's going to look terrible. And I don't want you then to give me a bad rating once you get it and pay me, whether you would have done that or not. And some people have left and gone other places. But how many people you think out there, like, they just don't care? Like, there's people clearly that don't care about the feel of DTF because I was seeing some stuff come off going, why aren't you DTGing that? It's such a big graphic. Oh, well, it's 10 cents cheaper to DTF it. But I'm like, they're 4-ounce next level t-shirts. Like, this thing's going to weigh the shirt down. Oh, it's just cheaper. The customer doesn't care. So my original question is, what percentage do you think? Do you think it's a real high percentage of people that don't care what they get because they might just wear it 1 or 2 times? And who cares about artwork? Who cares the quality? Just get it out the door.
Lack of understanding of the customer expectations. I mean, McDonald's exists, Timex exists, all for a reason. If the customer, you have to put forth that customer expectation that you deliver a better product. Same reason when we're selling machinery and stuff, same thing. We all sell the same stuff. What makes ours better? What makes your prints better than the next guy? And sometimes the customer's not right, and sometimes you need to move on. And it's better to find those customers that understand what you do and do it better. We talk about this all the time, but it's like McDonald's versus Ruth's Chris. Bro, stay being Ruth's Chris, stay doing the best you can, and let the bottom feeders have the bottom, because those customers are the hardest to deal with also. The ones who want it the cheapest, who have the lowest expectations, usually are the ones who are the hardest to deal with and have no idea what they're even looking at. The customers who actually know what they're talking about, have graphic art departments, have the proper artwork in place, people who understand those things are going to pay for that quality. So and it's all subjective anyways. What's blue? What is good to you might not be good to me.
I think some customers, they just don't know better. And I think some printers, they do take advantage of that. And that's when the quality kind of suffers. Like, I think as printers, it's our job to educate the customer what would be best for that particular graphic, what type of shirts they want, etc. Like, there has to be like this whole protocol of like asking them, well, for this design, what shirt you want it on, so then your direction for this would either be DTG or DTF or still screen. You kind of have to educate them through that line. At the end, there will always be that percentage that they don't care. They want it the cheapest, the fastest, and exactly what they want. And there are those kind of customers that are happy getting their poor resolution graphic because they're just glad that their stuff is on a shirt. And there are people like that. And, sometimes, it gets to that point where you're like, I guess the customer is always right to that point as long as they don't complain, right? But that's why, we always have to make sure that we do sampling and for them to approve it beforehand so it doesn't bite you in the ass later.
Yeah, and I've had customers where they wanted a bunch of stuff next day, their artwork's garbage, and they want it on dark shirts. I'm like, dude, dark shirts is not going to happen. It's extremely expensive for you, for one, and two, we don't have enough time. Your artwork's garbage. It's going to print out pixelated. I'll send you one quick pic of how it's going to turn out, and I know it's garbage. We don't have time to change it up, dude. So, and it's for like a promotional event. Usually those kind of people, they want stuff quick. And so here we are doing white shirts, no pre-treat. I mean, in my opinion, those people are few and far in between. But there are a lot of people that need stuff that don't have the time to change things up. The person's going to wear it for that day and that day only, or and take it home. It's a freebie, so nobody really cares. To me, that's very rare. But sometimes people get caught off guard with dates and stuff like that, and they don't have a choice. So as far as me doing stuff for people back in the day, if I saw something that I didn't want to do, I definitely wouldn't do it, especially knowing that it's coming from me. They're going to be like, oh, Anthony did something for me and it's garbage, and this guy makes stuff for a living to sell to people. I don't think so, dude. Not going to happen. So, yeah, for me personally, I wouldn't touch those orders. I'm just like, you know what? I can't do it. Can't commit to you. I don't want to put this out of my shop. So That's just my opinion.
Well, I feel like that's a whole other conversation, because everything you guys are saying are like, it's stirring up all these like strong emotional responses in my mind in terms of, I had a conversation this past weekend with another parent who she just said, oh, I don't care that I buy cheap stuff for my children from a fast fashion place that has a garbage print on it, because they're only going to wear it twice anyway, and then we'll just throw it away and get a new one. And that's a whole other like TED talk that we're all going to go to later. And I'm going to get up on the soapbox and I'm going to preach. But, for now, I mean, that it just brings to my mind like this whole mindset shift in that discussion in the industry, but probably a story for another day. Guys, much as I want to continue this conversation, we are coming up to the end of our episode. One quick question before we round this out, because I feel like maybe like we all have some strong feelings about AI that maybe are like good, bad, ugly. However, we'll just go around the horn. Eric, we'll start with you. In your opinion, what is the what's one untapped opportunity with AI that you would say decorators should try today, just looking at this in a positive mindset?
Quarterly business reviews of your own company.
Okay. I like it. Okay. All right. Anthony, any thoughts? Do you want to add maybe one untapped opportunity?
Try to train AI to get correct DPI file format inside your order process. So you're not tinkering with files and editing them and going back and forth with a customer and spending a whole lot of time you don't really need to.
I like that. Deanna, what, in your opinion, is one untapped opportunity with AI that you think apparel decorators should try?
I think just to keep in mind that they always should try to ask the AI to create the design in a high resolution. That's just the number one thing. Make or break your graphic to begin with anyway. So that would just be my tip.
I like it. All right. Well, Gerald, do you get the final thought here? In your opinion, what's one untapped opportunity AI can offer an apparel decorating shop?
Man, I mean, I think everybody pretty much like answered that question. I mean, just I don't know, really an untapped area. You use it to help with business processing. Anthony and Deanna and Eric, they all said everything correct with having it better image processing, higher resolution. Tell it to make the highest resolution possible, transparent background. But I guess try to use it for the business side of the printing business. Not always the artwork, but hey, what's a good brand of shirt maybe to use? What's a higher quality shirt? Ask that question. Ask how can I be a little bit more efficient with my setup, to save time so that I can produce more in less amount of time to make a higher profit. That's probably questions that I would go and ask it.
Sure. I like it, guys. Well, again, thank you to the few OGs who are here. I just want to caveat everyone who's listening that we had a couple OGs who were not able to join, and that's totally fine. We ebb and flow. This group is always here to support us and offer their opinions, and I'm sure that we will have all of you again on the Apparelist podcast. Again, reminder to all of our listeners, you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. And something tells me, guys, we'll see each other at Printing United Expo, hopefully, and have some even more in-depth discussion on a topic TBD. Maybe this one, maybe something else. You never know. Never know.
Can't wait.
Well, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Really excited to have you again.
Thanks,
Cassie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank